Hi guys. We're going to read another 2 chapters today. We just met a new character on our last chapter. His name was Lucius Clark. He, of course, is the doll mender that has put Edward back together again. As you know, he had his head cracked into 21 pieces. It's not good. So we're going to see what happens next. On chapter 24, the picture looks like it's Bryce. So looks like he's going into somewhere. It leads me to think he's going in to see Lucius Clark. Maybe he's going to end up getting him back, getting Edward back, or Jangles back. Let's find out. And so Edward Tulane was mended, put together again, cleaned and polished, dressed in an elegant suit, and placed high on a shelf for display. From this shelf, Edward could see the whole shop, Lucius Clark's workbench and the windows to the outside world, and the door that the customers used to enter and leave. From this shelf, Edward saw Bryce open the door one day and stand in the threshold, the silver harmonica in his left hand, flashing brilliantly in the sunlight flooding in through the windows. "Young sir," said Lucius, "I am afraid that we made a deal." "Can't I see him?" asked Bryce. He wiped his hand across his nose, and the gesture filled Edward with a terrible feeling of love and loss. "I just want to look at him." Lucius Clark sighed. "You may look," he said. "You may look, and then you must go and not come back. I cannot have you in my shop every day, mooning over what you have lost." "Yes, sir," said Bryce. Lucius sighed again. He got up from his workbench and went to Edward's shelf and picked him up and held him so that Bryce could see him. "Hey, Jangles," said Bryce. "You look good. And the last time I seen you, you looked terrible. Your head was busted in and—" "He is all put together again," said Lucius, "as I promised you he would be." Bryce nodded. He wiped his hand across his nose. "Can I hold him?" he asked. So here's your picture. Look at the dolls on display right here. And then you can see Lucius is holding Jangles, aka Edward. And here's Bryce. Our caption says, "You may look, and then you must go and not come back." "So can I hold him?" he asked. "No," said Lucius. Bryce nodded again. "Tell him goodbye," said Lucius Clark. "He is repaired. He has been saved. Now you must tell him goodbye." "Goodbye," said Bryce. "Don't go," thought Edward. "I won't be able to bear it if you go." "And now you must leave," said Lucius Clark. "Yes, sir," said Bryce, but he stood without moving, looking at Edward. "Go," said Lucius Clark. "Go." "Please," thought Edward, "don't." Bryce turned. He walked through the door of the doll mender's shop. The door closed, the bell tinkled, and Edward was alone. Here's chapter 25's cover page, and you can see we've got lots of different dolls there, lots of different porcelain or china dolls. When I say porcelain, it just means they're very breakable. They're made of that glass, and the same with china. Not that they are from China, friends. Technically, of course, he was not alone. Lucius Clark's shop was filled with dolls. Lady dolls and baby dolls, dolls with painted eyes that are dolls with eyes that opened and closed, and dolls with painted on eyes, dolls dressed as queens, and dolls wearing sailor suits. Edward had never cared for dolls. He found them annoying and self-centered, twittery and vain. This opinion was immediately reinforced by his first shelf mate, a china doll with green glass eyes and red lips and dark brown hair. She was wearing a green satin dress that fell to her knees. "What are you?" she said in a high-pitched voice when Edward was placed on the shelf next to her. "I am a rabbit," said Edward. The doll let out a small squeak. "You're in the wrong place," she said. "This is a shop for dolls, not rabbits." Edward said nothing. "Shoo," said the doll. "I would love to shoo," said Edward, "but it is obvious that I cannot." After a long silence, the doll said, "I hope you don't think that anyone is going to buy you." Again, Edward said nothing. "The people who come in here want dolls, not rabbits. They want baby dolls or elegant dolls such as myself. Dolls with pretty dresses, dolls with eyes that open and close." "I have no interest in being purchased," said Edward. The doll gasped. "You don't want somebody to buy you," she said. "You don't want to be owned by a little girl who loves you?" Sarah Ruth, Abilene. Their names went through Edward's head like the notes of a sad, sweet song. "I have already been loved," said Edward. "I have been loved by a girl named Abilene. I have been loved by a fisherman and his wife and a hobo and his dog. I have been loved by a boy who played the harmonica and by a girl who died." "Don't talk to me about love," he said. "I have known love." This impassionate speech shut up Edward's shelfmate for a considerable amount of time. "Well," she said at last, "still, my point is that no one is going to buy you." They did not speak to each other again. The doll was sold 2 weeks later to a grandmother who was purchasing her for a grandchild. "Yes," she said to Lucius Clark, "that one right there, the one with the green dress. She is quite lovely." "Yes," said Lucius, "she is, isn't she?" And he plucked the doll from the shelf. Goodbye and good riddance, thought Edward. The spot next to the rabbit stayed vacant for some time. Day after day, the door to the shop opened and closed, letting in early morning sun or late afternoon light, lifting the hearts of the dolls inside, all of them thinking when the door swung wide that this time, the person entering the shop would be the one who wanted them. Edward was the lone contrarian. He prided himself on not hoping, on not allowing his heart to lift inside of him. He prided himself on keeping his heart silent, immobile, closed tight. "I am done with hope," thought Edward Tulane. And then, one day at dusk, right before he closed the shop, Lucius Clark placed another doll on the shelf next to Edward. We really have 2 chapters left after that. Okay, so here we are on Edward Tulane's miraculous journey, and it seems a couple things have happened. It seems that he has discovered how to love, that he has been loved, that he has loved also others, but it also now seems that he has lost hope, that he just doesn't even want to try again, which is a sad way to feel, guys. Make sure you check your Google Classroom for your assignments. We're going to finish this book next time. See you then.